Hey, it's Sean Strickland with her super cute husband, Edwin Strickland, and we are wondering, can you hear us? Can you hear us? If you can hear us, let us know. I can see in the studio. I didn't do that. Wasn't me.
It's your camera. It's okay.
Um, anyway, welcome to the first Relationships 101 for 2024. We are super excited to see you, to be here with you. It is January 2024. How's your new year going? Babe, how's your new year going?
Going great. We're 9 days in, and I am already knocking off some of my to-do list. I have fully recovered from my 2 days of unrestrained eating on New Year's and January 1st, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. It's cold here, but I forced myself to go to Planet Fitness to get my miles in because, as I always say,
these miles
ain't gonna walk themselves. So I walk my miles today.
I walk my miles in the house.
That's good.
I literally get up. I get up from my desk several times a day. I got a desk that moves up. And so I walk in front of my desk. I walk in front of the TV. I come over there and march in place in front of you. I think I've gotten to walk outside twice this year. It just hasn't been warm enough for me. And I have the walking pad, so I don't necessarily have to go to Planet Fitness.
I try to walk in the house. My body doesn't respond the same. I can't get my marching in place doesn't get my heart rate up. I have to really outside works better for me because I can actually run and get my heart rate up. But like today, I just turned the treadmill up to 5.5 and just ran. And then when I got tired, I turned it down to 3.5 and walked. And then when I caught my breath, I ran it to 5. I just have to keep my heart rate up. If I keep my heart rate up, my weight journey seems to be better for me. So
listen, you're a running track star now, huh?
I do run.
No, I see you out there sometimes. I drive past you and you are out there running. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. My goal is to get to 5 miles. I haven't quite got to 5 miles without stopping. I did 4.5. And but I'm just building up to it. Just not trying to do it super fast, just building up to it. Whatever I have to do to keep my heart rate up. Because used to, heck, I could walk an 18-minute mile and have my heart rate up. But as you get your cardio better, you have to do more. So just trying to keep my heart rate up.
So let me ask you this, because you used to swear, because you were a really good track athlete. A lot of people may not know that, but you held a state record for many years for running the 800 because you were fast. But when I met you, in all the years I've known you, you've said that you hate running. So when I see you out there running, I'm trying to see, did you actually used to hate running? Did you just have a bad attitude because you didn't like being coached? Or did you just change your thinking, feeling cycle? What's happened? Because when I see you running, I'm tripping.
The answer is yes.
Yes to what?
To all three of those. Yes, I used to hate running. I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling of it. Two, I still don't like running. It's not the thing that I wake up in the morning going, "Oh, I can't wait to run today." 3, I did change my thinking, feeling cycle about running because it is the only other thing I can do to keep my heart rate up. I have to keep my heart rate up. If I don't keep my heart rate up, it's like I'm doing something, but it's not benefiting me. And I don't want to be out there doing something that's not benefiting me. So walking an 18-minute mile used to benefit me. Walking a 16-minute mile used to benefit me. Walking a 14-minute mile used to benefit me. Now running a 12-minute mile benefits me.
I'm so impressed.
So I just have to keep doing what I need to do for it to benefit me. Otherwise, I'll be tempted to not do anything. And when I'm tempted not to do anything, then I have to pull my big boy clothes out the closet and put them in the front of my closet and sit in the back of my closet. But I actually decided today I am going to give away.
Good.
I'm just going to give away.
Good.
Everything I have in my closet is a size 38 or 40. I'm giving it away.
Good, you should.
I'm giving them away. Because last time I kept them, and I got back into it.
Because why do you keep what you don't plan to go back to?
That's a good question.
Why do you keep what you don't plan to go back to?
I kept them because they were high quality. They were good clothes.
You kept them because you were never really committed not to going back.
I guess
No,
I'll receive that.
We weren't
I'll
ever really
receive
committed
that.
to not going
I'll
back.
receive that. I wasn't.
Right.
I hadn't changed my lifestyle. I had really went on a diet.
Listen, while you're watching, can you share this and tag somebody? Tell us where you're watching from, add a friend or two. But I think the reality of it is that what we have done before is that when things would get where we felt like it was too much, right? Different, sometimes the same time for us, sometimes different times for us, we would make a decision to get out of that weight, whatever that was.
Yeah,
but we didn't necessarily get out with the intent to stay out.
Yes, for me, I can tell you, and I don't know about you, but for me, it was this time of year. This right here is the time of year I have to push through. When daylight saving times hit and the weather is nice, I'll do what I need to do to drop the weight. But what I can't keep doing is picking up 40 or 50 pounds from Thanksgiving to March, and then losing 40 pounds from March to October, because you can pick up the weight a whole lot faster than you can lose the weight. And so I changed my thinking, feeling cycle about food, about how I look at food, about my age. There are some things that we want to do in the next couple of years that we've never been able to do before, because all of our children, praise God, will be healthy and out of our house, right? And because they're going to be healthy and out of the house, this ain't the time for me to be sitting around 270 pounds, tired, can't breathe, and all those other things. So I have a BHAG, right? I have a BHAG
is a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Audacious goal. My BHAG is to be my high school weight by this summer. When I say my high school weight, I was 180 pounds. In 1990, when I graduated,
you were 170. You were 170, babe, because you were 180 when we met, and you told me that you had just gotten.
So there. I don't want to get to 170.
Okay.
I want to get to 180. So let me say that I want to get to 180, but the way that I was in 94.
Okay.
If I was 170 in high school, I gained 10 pounds in 4 years. I want to get back to 180. So 180 is where I want to get. And the reason is, man, I want to be healthy. I want to be able to stick around and do relationships 101 for years to come. I don't want to be in bad health. And I ain't going to spend all these years raising these kids and then be in bad health now that they're gone.
Now, listen, let me say this. Is anybody else out here you're working to be more fit? Oh, I think as you get older, this is the thing I've been thinking about a lot since all of our kids, except for Taylor, are here. I have been thinking that a lot of times as parents, we don't realize that the sacrifice we make when we're raising our kids in an attempt to do good for them, we actually end up making them pay for it on the back end if we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we mistreat our bodies. I think about all the times my kids went to activities, and instead of getting out the car and walk, while I had to wait on them, I got a Route 44 drink, sat in the car, drank it, talk on the phone. And now here's the thing. I still talk on the phone when I'm walking sometimes, especially when I'm talking through stuff. You don't really do that. You'll talk to me a little bit.
That's why I tell you can run. If you start running with me, you won't be talking on that phone.
No, I need to talk through some stuff. I talk on the phone.
You start running with me, I promise you.
No.
You're telling folks you got to call them back.
No, I call those people, especially on tough days. I call Crystal. I say, hey, Crystal, I need to walk 4 miles and I need to talk. But even still, this goes back to the point that we do different things.
Yeah.
We have a similar goal,
yeah.
a big, hairy, audacious goal to literally be in the best shape of our lives
Yes.
the older we get, right? But it looks different, right?
Yeah.
It really looks different.
And it goes back to what we're going to be talking about tonight. How do you get to live out your life as an individual while at the same time supporting your partner, right? Because I have to support you in your walking on your walking path. I support you walking in the house, and you support me when I'm walking, even in the cold. Sometimes you're like, you need to bundle up more. You need to do this, and I appreciate that.
You gave me a cold.
You got a cold.
You gave me a cold. You got a cold because you wouldn't cover your head up because you said it wasn't that cold. You got a cold, and then 3 days later, I had a cold.
And we're both recovered and we're fine.
Yes, right. So to all the people who are on their health journey, let me tell you something. This is what I would offer you. This is the time of year where we see sometimes that people are kind of like, all these people are coming back to the gym. Everybody type this in the comments. So what? So what? Don't you let anybody punk you out of, intimidate you out of. I don't care if you have started over for the last 20 years. Don't let anybody do that to you. It is really
okay. Help me. Don't let them do what?
Don't let them where people try to intimidate you because you're coming back to the gym. People make those comments. There's a lot of comments like people are going to be coming back to people who normally don't work out and they'll be gone in a month. Y'all freak them people. Don't let them people bully you and keep you from coming to the gym.
Do people listen to that?
A lot of people do. People have told you don't listen to a lot of stuff because you honestly, as you have established in 2023, don't really care what other people think. But a lot of people are discouraged when they're going back to the gym. They've gained some weight. They know they've been off. And people are making jokes like, you're in here holding up the machine. We don't want you in here right now. And all I can
But they pay to go to the gym, right?
I know. Okay, babe. Yes, they pay to go to the gym.
So if they pay to go to the gym, they can stay on all the machines if they want to then. But you're right. So what? Don't listen to them people then. If you listen to them, don't listen to them. But I hope you're not listening to them.
No, don't listen to them. No, listen, Kim said the look of concern on your face.
Like who listens to what other people say?
People do.
Okay.
People listen. Okay, so I want to, tonight we're going to be talking, first of all, let us tell you that the next Relationships 101 is Tuesday, February the 13th at 7 p.m. and it is the day before Valentine's Day, right? And it's going to be fun. I don't know what we're talking about right now. You're going to see that when we start talking tonight about balancing individuality while nurturing a strong partnership. Some of that conversation is about dreams and all of that different stuff right there. And so one of the reasons that I don't know those things right now is I'm actually working on a project for my company.
A big project.
Well, a big project, which is why I don't know what we're talking about. Do you know what we're talking about next month?
I got some ideas, but we'll see how this goes tonight.
All right.
Because what I like to do is I like for the Relationships 101 to kind of build on each other through the course of the year. Different topics, but I like for them to build. And it always depends on the feedback and stuff. This one has been one that we've been kind of holding. We had Unica J with us the last couple of times in 2023. But this idea around not
we just
losing,
hit over 100. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much.
This idea of not losing your individuality, I think is so important. I counsel probably more married couples than you do. You counsel a lot of people, but I think you be diverting the married couples.
I do.
To me. And so
I
talk to a lot of married couples, and the problems are widespread, but it really comes down to people sometimes end up losing themselves. They lose themselves. Don't touch that.
Well, I can't see the comments.
I will touch it. But last time you touched it, do not touch that. Do not touch that. There you go. Do not touch that.
Ooh, you're so shady and petty. I promise you think you're a principal all the time. You think you is a straight principal all the time. Y'all, I promise Edward Strickland think you my daddy.
Listen. I saw your hand. I was like, do not reach over there and touch that again.
I hope it don't pop back in again. I mean, listen.
I don't know.
Don't touch that. Don't you touch that.
What was I saying?
Too busy trying to be the boss of me. You were trying to manage. You should have minded your own business and kept track of your own statement.
I know what I was talking about. Because I have the ability to pull it back.
Pull it back.
I'm talking about the fact that there are so many married couples who end up losing their individuality. And when they lose their individuality, it really starts to pull at them. But if you're going to be in a supportive marriage and you're going to be married to a go-getter, and you know, whether that's a man being married to a woman or a woman being married to a man, I hope your spouse is a go-getter, you know. And if they're not a go-getter, and I hope you like a person who's not a go-getter.
Because if not, it's hard to be married to somebody who don't have no gumption.
To somebody who's not a go-getter. But if they're a go-getter, they're going to be going and getting it. So you got to learn how to support them and not become irritated that they're a go-getter, but also not lose yourself in it. And we're going to talk a lot about this idea about how do you keep your individuality at the same time supporting your partner. We're of the belief, and I know people don't always think this, but we are of the belief that you absolutely can have it all. You may not be able to have it all today, or you may not be able to have it all this season, but we are firm believers that together, Edwin and Sean can have it all. We just have to figure out how to, it's like a 500-piece puzzle, right? We got all the pieces. They're in the box, but it takes time to put them together. And sometimes you have to design that outline first. And then once you get that outline, then you start working on the other pieces of that puzzle. And that's kind of how I see our relationship. We spent years building this outline, right? And sometimes we was forcing pieces that didn't fit because they looked like they did. Mm-hmm. But now that we got the outline of this puzzle, God has shown us what this box looks like. You know how when you had that box when you're doing the puzzle?
My grandma used to do puzzles.
And now we're just putting the pieces together. And what we want to do is to share with other people what we've done so they too can put the pieces together.
Because success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Now, so we want to talk to you about this, and it's really interesting because I said to Pastor Edwin, I said, I'd like to do a little more Lemoyne Crystal today if y'all watch that show, where instead of a teaching, it's actually a conversation. And we'll give you guys the opportunity to ask us questions as well. When we say we can have it all, the Bible actually says you can have it all. The Bible says Jesus came that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. That's what the Bible tells us, right? Yep. And so I think that what has to happen for people is that people have to believe the Bible more than they believe culture. Mm-hmm. People have to believe the Bible more than they believe culture. Now, somebody, Jules, said, what do you do if they're not a go-getter? No matter how much you try to encourage and lay out steps, it's very frustrating, found out too late. You got to make a choice. You have to make a choice.
And you have to decide. Sometimes people say someone's not a go-getter because they're not a go-getter like they are.
Facts.
So you really have to take a step back and say, okay, am I expecting this person I'm with to be like me? Because the reality of it is you'll go in your office and you'll spend 72 hours and produce a whole entire book or two. I'm never going to write a book that way. It doesn't make sense to me. My mind doesn't work that way. If I did it, I wouldn't be satisfied with the product. I certainly wouldn't put it out like that. But that's me. But if you look at me and say, oh, Strick's not a go-getter because I don't do what you do, then you may always be frustrated with me. So when I talk to couples, I have to ask them, is it really that the person, and I don't know, Jewel, I don't know who that is in terms of their relationship, but is it really that the person's not a go-getter or they're not a go-getter like you? And I think those are two distinctive things we have to sometimes ask ourselves.
Well, and I think it goes back to vision, right? I think a lot of times people get married because they like each other. A lot of times people get married because they have good sex, but people don't get married with the future. We talked a lot about what we wanted our future to look like. Now, while it didn't necessarily go the way we thought it was going to go, we are actually back in the space that we originally talked about being in, right? And I think that what happens is...
That's why I say we got this outline of the puzzle pieces now. 29 years later, we got this thing kind of laid out. We can see the full picture.
Well, it took a little bit, but I did retire you now. You did retire.
Yeah.
Now, you may be working harder because you're doing more stuff for the church, but I told you, like, hey, you give me a chance and I'm going to let you because of all the things that you've done for our family.
Yeah.
And I meant that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but I think that this is really important because I was just talking to somebody the other day, and it goes along with what you said about, is the person not a go-getter or a go-getter like you? Now, this is what I think is interesting. I think this is going to be a pretty hot topic. I'm interested to see how people feel about it. One of the things that's interesting to me about women is that women advocate for equality until we're talking about money. So most women are perfectly okay. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about a bum. I'm not talking about a bum. I'm not talking about somebody who's lazy. I'm not talking about somebody who doesn't contribute. but we consider it to be perfectly okay. For example, the years that I didn't work and I took care of the kids, nobody was saying to you, that's not right, right? So women, on one hand, we want to make the same thing as men. We want the household chores to be equal. But when the woman happens to become the one that makes money, what I see in women sometimes is something really ugly, that now they think the man is less than. And I think that one of the things that women have to be careful about is saying, what is this person's value in my life? The reality of it is that your value in my life is bigger than money. And the truth of it is that because you have retired and you do the things you do, I can do the things that I do. Now, women not going to necessarily like this, but I think it's a very interesting dynamic that the man who took care of you when you were building is now a bum when he not matching money. And I think that's interesting. I don't know where we get it from.
I'm not sure where to get it from, but I have had pushback from people, and that's okay. I've talked to my guys about this. I've said it to you, and we've had conversations, and we don't agree on the same page of it. Although you just stated kind of what I state sometimes, and that is that men, for the most part, are not really loved for who they are. Men are loved for what they can provide. And I'm not saying that that is all women. I'm not. I am saying that in the same sense that we have taught women where their place is in society, we've also told men where their place is in society. And a man's place in society is to be able to provide. And if a man can provide, then he can receive love. If he can't provide, no matter how much love he's providing, that love comes up short because it's not draped in provision. And I think that is a thing that I don't think people talk about enough. And the reason is because we've seen a shift. We have more, and especially we're talking about Black women, but women in general. Women in general are more educated than men. They have more degrees. Women, although they do not make the same amount of money right now for the same job as a man, typically, they are bringing in more income than a lot of men, partially because a lot of men are less educated, especially if you're talking about African American men. And when I say less educated, I don't mean less smart. I don't mean less intelligent. I mean degrees.
Right. Degree.
And so what happens is then now you have women who make six-figure salaries. And when I say six figures, I'm talking anywhere from 100,000 to 999,000. Okay, so six figures ain't just 100, but you have women who make six figures. And so if you ask a lot of those women, what are you looking for in a man, right? Even though they're making all of this money, they will tell you they're looking for someone who is their equal. But when they say they're equal, you have to really dig in and ask, what do you mean by equal? Do you mean someone who's caring like you're caring? Do you mean someone who is long-suffering like you're long-suffering? Do you mean somebody who's outgoing like you're outgoing? Or do you mean someone who is adventurous like you're adventurous? And they may go, oh, well, yeah. But in the initial thought, they're saying, I need somebody who makes what I make. But if a man says, I'm not dating a woman who does not make what I make, man, he gonna catch all kind of Hades. He gonna catch all kind. If a man says, I ain't dating no woman who don't make $250,000.
If a man say I make $250 and you don't, if you don't make $250,
you can't even be in my inbox.
Women would go off.
You can't even DM me if you ain't making $250.
Women
I make
would
$250.
go off about it. Women would go off.
And it's just true. It is just true. And so that's the reason that I think marriage in our society is in such a tumultuous place right now, because women can freely say, if he ain't making, if he got to take care of me, well, okay, there's nothing wrong with it, or people ask questions like this. They say, what you bringing to the table? And then sometimes a woman say, I am the table. You know, it's like, really? You the table? Because I can find 100 other tables. If we gonna talk about it. Now that ain't what we're supposed to talk about tonight. But you brought that up, and I've been wanting to have this conversation since I went to Dallas.
But,
and watched the Razorbacks play Texas A&M.
No, you do want to have this conversation, but like I think that this is important because my conversation is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I agree with what you're saying, but my conversation is a little bit different.
Okay.
My challenge is more for couples who we started equal.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Or the man made the most.
Right.
And when the woman makes the most,
she flipped the script.
She flips the script and she begins to be disrespectful and dishonorable and seeing him as nothing.
Like if you started to say to me, well, you just gonna stay in the bed till 8 o'clock? Or what you got to do today? Are you gonna do anything with your life? I mean, those kind of things.
Things. And I think that but I do think it stems from the same thing that there is something inbred in us that says we want equality for us, but not for you. We want equality for women. I want the right to be able to decide whether I'm going to stay at home or not. I want the right to be able to build a career if I want to. But even how we respond to a man who chooses to stay home with the kids. And in reality, had I been further in my career and clarity, it probably would have been much better for our family for you to stay home because of how you're wired and because of how I'm wired. And so I'm saying that I think that what we have to do when we're having this language about individuality and dreams, that again, women, I love y'all. Y'all know I love women, but where I think the bias is, I really feel like I'm checking for men tonight. But I mean, I've been having some conversations with Inner Circle, so this is where I'm here from, is that I think that what women want to do is we want to be able to tell, and I used to be this kind of woman, so I'm not just sliding in. We want to be able to shape you in our image. We want to be able to determine what go-getting is, what love is, what support is. We want to be able to do all of that. That is what we want to be able to do. But one of the things that I have, because we have such crucial conversations in our marriage, right?
Yep.
That I have been saying to women around me is that you want to point out everything that you think is wrong with him, every way that he's not like you, right?
Yep.
But could you handle if he did that to you? Could you handle it? Like, because the thing that I have found about working with men is that men do not always, a lot of times, like, this used to be us. I got a lot to say about what you're doing. You not saying a lot about what I'm doing. So in my mind, I think I'm batting 100. When in reality, you're just gracious enough not to say all the stuff that I ain't got sense enough not to say. And one profound moment for us is when you said to me, yeah, I love you, but for the record, I ain't liked you for a long time. And so what I'm trying to get women to understand is that in order to build something, we've got to tear down this mindset of happy life, happy wife, and create this place that says happy spouse, happy house.
Yes.
And that I also think, especially for women my age, 50 and above, I'm going to say 40 and above. Here's what I'm going to say to you. All good men, we're going to distinguish this by good men. I will say all good men will do whatever it takes for their wives and their kids. And I believe that we have a responsibility as women to not let our men work themselves to death.
Yep.
Because when we begin to look at stats, what we also see is that a lot of women are ending up with their being widows prematurely because you watched that man work 2 jobs. You watched him never take a break. You know he didn't sleep, but you were okay with that because it let you get where It lets you get what you wanted. And the thing that I would say is that if we're really going to build a dream life and if we're really going to have vision, just like I want you to pay attention to me, right? It's my responsibility to know that Edwin Strickland will work himself to death if I don't interfere. And that I have to say, because there was a lifestyle I wanted to live, that I could not put that weight on you to do that because this is not June Cleaver's day.
Right.
So that part of this dream can't be, I'm willing to sacrifice you for the dream, or you're willing to sacrifice me for the dream, which is why we don't like the term compromise.
Right.
We like creating win-win. So here's the question I want to ask you guys. In your marriage, do you have win-wins? And this is what I would encourage each spouse to do. Sometimes you think y'all winning, but your spouse don't.
Because you don't actually ask. You make an assumption, not you. I'm saying people in general, they assume that they're winning, but they don't spend the time to actually ask their spouse how they're feeling about something. You know, you said we don't use the word compromise, and we don't. We always talk about synergy. We talk about what can I do to help you win, where at the same time I don't feel like I'm losing. Because some marriages are structured such that one person is always the one supporting, always the cheerleader, always, encouraging and getting the other person to do something. But then when that spouse has an opportunity to be encouraged, the other one doesn't take the time to even do it because they still waiting on somebody to encourage them some more. And so those are the reasons that people end up trying to make things work and they lose their individuality. I can't tell you the number of women who I talk to who, and I can I say it like this? I think church messes up some people, some women.
I do.
And I don't and hear
no
me,
shade, because I love the church.
And hear me when I say this. I don't mean Jesus. Okay? I don't mean Jesus mixed them up. I don't even necessarily mean the religion of Christianity messes them up. I mean the culture of church. The culture of church, especially among African Americans, tells a woman that she needs to do everything possible to support her man's dreams. Okay? I ain't got no problem with that. But where's the reciprocation? Where is the husband's responsibility to support his wife's dreams? I've known pastors whose wife is or was the executive pastor of the church. I mean, literally, if she was to drop dead, the church wouldn't know where their checkbook was. I mean, she's doing everything. She's taking care of the finances. She's taking care of all the contracts. She's doing stuff with the banks and the insurance and all of that. And she's supporting the vision of that man who said God gave him a call to start a church. I ain't got no problem with that. But then when she comes and she says, the Lord told me I'm supposed to have a women's meeting. Well, now he can't even take the time to support her in having a women's meeting because he now wants to have a men's meeting. And she needs to support my dream first. And I've seen that happen so many times in women because they have been told to support their husband. They end up forfeiting the call of God on their life or the dream that they had or the thing they wanted to do because they want to be a good wife. I tell you all the time, I'd be a terrible wife. Oh God.
Yeah, if this conversation
he made me a man.
Yeah,
because he knew I'd be a terrible wife.
I'd be a terrible wife. You'd be a terrible wife.
Terrible.
You would be
terrible.
And you would be terrible leading all the women.
Terrible.
You would.
Terrible.
Be.
We'd have pitchforks. We'd be in the street. We
protesting
these sorry men who can't support our dreams.
Go off, sis. So this is so important because the truth of it is that when we're talking, we can see the frustration women have.
Yeah.
We can see the frustration men have. And this is what I say all the time. I just wish all the nice people could find each other and be married to each other. But it seems like that so often it is a jerk husband married to a nice wife or a nice husband married to a jerk wife. I just wish the nice people would just hook up so we could all do great things and be happy.
And can I tell you that I think some of that is because both of those situations, both people get something out of it.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
So if you a jerk husband and you got this supportive wife, The jerk husband's getting out of that relationship all the support. And the nice wife, even though she may be frustrated, she's getting something out of it because she is fulfilling what she thinks is important, which is to be supportive to her mate.
That's fair.
And if you flip it, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And so they stay in that situation because they're both getting something out of it until one has absolutely had enough. And typically it's the nice one who's had enough. And then when the nice one,
and then the jerk one is confused.
The jerk one is totally confused. He's like, oh my God, what do you mean you moved out? What do you mean you want a divorce? And then they say stupid stuff like this. We've been so happy the last 20 years. No, Negro, you've been happy the last 20 years. Not us, you, because I've been supporting your dreams. I've been suppressing everything I wanted to do. You've been happy, not us.
Babe, I think you were speaking for some people today. Now, you're not speaking for yourself, are you?
Absolutely not.
Okay, because you said there was so much passion.
Because I've talked to so many couples since like, I don't know, July. And it's like,
you've been talking to a lot of
this
couples.
Has been the theme. And I don't care what they say the problem is. This is what it comes down to. You know, and here's the thing. A lot of people get married in their 20s. You know, even if it's early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, right? By the time you hit 50, most people have decided, I've at most got about half of my life left. If I'm gonna live to be 100, I got half of my life left. You know, if I'm gonna live to be 75, I ain't even got half of it left here. And they start asking themselves questions. Do I want to spend the rest of my life like this? For 20 years, for 25 years, for 30 years, I've been with this person. I tried to talk to them. I tried to get them to understand. I tried to show them differently. We've had the same dysfunctional dance over and over and over. I've told them how I felt. I threatened to leave. They act like they're going to change. When I come back or I don't leave, things get bad. I am sick of this. And they start saying, I'm done. And when folks start saying I'm done, and then I'm trying to counsel them, sometimes it's too late. It is too late when they come to me and say, I'm just coming to you because I want to feel good about the fact that I'm done. I want to listen to you and hear what you have to say, but in my heart, I'm done. And I tell people, you don't have to waste my time. And you don't have to waste your own time. When you have decided you're done, who sung the song When a Woman Fed Up? I don't know. Don't you tell me.
You know who sung it. When a woman fed up.
When a woman is fed up, in some cases when a man is fed up, it's not a lot you can do to repair that relationship when you spent years destroying it, especially if people feel like they've lost themselves and now they done found themselves again. They're like, I'm not losing myself again. I know it was Robert.
It was Robert. Everybody say Robert. Don't say his other name.
Right.
Robert.
Don't say his name.
Robert. It was Robert. No, but I think that this is important, and I think that one of the things that people laugh at us because we talk about that one of the strengths in our marriage is that we are not particularly long suffering.
We are not.
Because
not with something that can be fixed.
Not with something that can be fixed
or exited from.
Yes. And it is the fact that we were not long suffering that we were forced to have. Rod Neal says, I'd rather have an uncomfortable conversation than end up divorced.
Yes.
But I think there's something worse than divorce. I think being in a miserable marriage is actually worse than being divorced.
People don't think it is, but I think it is.
I think it's worse.
And I think because we both agreed to that, we had the fortitude to fix it. Ain't no way we said we weren't going to be married 5 more years like this. We didn't put no 10 on it. We wasn't going to be married 5 more years like this. We're going to fix this, or we're going to co-parent and be happy apart. But what we weren't going to do is be miserable.
What we weren't going to do is be miserable.
We weren't.
Now, but some of that is that people have to give each other grace. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I want you to hear this. Who you marry, which is why it's so important. If you're single out here, if you young out here, you need to hear this.
Hear this. I know what you're about to say.
Hear this.
Say it loud.
You need to be talking about what you want life to look like at 40, what you want life to look like at 50. Because what happens is that if we get married for our passion in the moment, okay? And I don't know that it's important to you to be able to take multiple vacations. And you don't know that I'm a person who don't never want to leave my small town.
Yep.
then it's a non-issue in the beginning because we don't have any money to go anywhere. But then when we do have money to go somewhere, then now what's happening is now you're frustrated because I don't want to go anywhere, but I'm frustrated because you want to go somewhere all the time. We have got to talk about what is the vision. The Bible says where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint.
Yeah.
Where there is no vision, there is destruction. We had lots of conversations at 22, which also probably anchored us in some tough times about what we wanted life to look like at 50. Now we're talking about what we want life to look like at 70. And it's one of the reasons that we're so adamant that we say to each other, you are not going to die on me because you're eating like crap. We have spent, since we were 23, we have been parenting people. We have been pastoring since we were 27. What we're going to do is get this weight off. What we're going to do is make sure we're not at risk for lifestyle diseases so we can go have fun.
You know, the other part of that is that I am not the person you married when I was 22.
And I am not.
And you are not the person I married when you were 22. You talked about giving people grace. One of the things you have to do if you're going to learn to support your spouse and still maintain your individuality, you have to learn to give people grace to grow and change. You have to give people grace. I don't know how I could say that any more emphatically. You have to give people the grace to grow and change. Now, fundamentally, are there some moral aspects about who I am that are the same?
Yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And those things shouldn't change. You know, we talk all the time. When you and I met, no matter where we were in our walk with Christ, we were solidified in that we believed Jesus Christ was the way.
Amen.
And we believed he was important to both of us and we needed it.
Amen.
Now, so I ain't talking about giving folks grace to change. And now I'm coming in the house talking about I'm in the Nation of Islam, or now I'm a Mormon, or now I'm agnostic. We're not talking about those things. But you married, whether you knew it or not, a young man who did not have a lot of emotional intelligence. Okay? I've grown in that area. Praise God for it. But you had to give me grace to grow. You had to give me grace to change. There are some things about you that I loved you, but over the years, those things have changed. And I had to learn to embrace and love those new things.
Like what? Give me
I knew you was gonna
Give me
ask
an
me that.
example.
I'm not
give
gonna-
the people an example. What is you? Because you can't have a transparent conversation and say something like that and don't give an example.
I've learned to embrace your quick build a plane as you start walking toward the runway kind of attitude. I've learned to embrace that. That wasn't something that I knew about you when we first got together because you weren't in that space. But when you first started doing it,
oh, it used to drive you crazy.
it didn't drive me crazy. I'm gonna make that confession. It angered me.
Oh, it made you mad. Oh,
and it angered
tight
me.
in your little chest.
And it made me angry because it was like, why don't you slow down? Why don't you stop? Why don't you analyze? Why don't you synthesize? But the reality of it is, if you took all that time to do that, you wouldn't have built $1 million business right now the way you built it. So I had to give you the grace to do it, even though it's not the way I would have done it, right? And so I'm just saying that as people grow, you have to give them grace. You have to give them grace.
That's really good.
You know?
And I think, I think here's the thing, just transitions in our marriage. When we met each other, I wanted to be a high profile lawyer.
Yeah, you listen, when I met you from the get-go, my idea was to be a trophy husband. Okay? Here's what I mean. We talked about this. You ain't shocked. We talked about this. You were going to go to law school. You were going to work for a big firm. You were going to be extremely famous. I was going to get a teaching job so that I could have my summers to myself. And I was going to be a stay-at-home dad once we had kids. That was a dream. That's what we were supposed to do. And then you went to law school. They said you didn't like it. I was like, what? Did you just catfish me?
Oh, that's so shady.
And once I realized, okay, she doesn't want to practice law. That's not who she is. I didn't say, you got to do it. You promised me, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? I know that I can't make the kind of money teaching that I thought you were going to make as a high profile attorney owning your own firm, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, what can I do? So then I went back to school. I got into administration. I was like, administration is cool, but there's a whole lot more money to be made out there in the corporate sector, in the education sector, right? So that's what I pursued. That's what I did, right? Because that's what we needed to do. You stayed home. You never wanted kids in the sense of it wasn't your dream to have children.
No, let's be clear. I wasn't going to have kids.
Right.
I want the kids we have.
Absolutely.
But
before we had kids, wasn't your thing.
Before I met you, I always intended to be the rich
when
auntie.
You met me, that's what you said. Now, yes. I knew I was like, I can change your mind.
see, no, let me say this.
I can change your mind. I put these kids in her. She'll be fine.
But let me tell you, you are so out of bounds tonight. But let me tell you though, here's the thing though. The reality of it is that a lot of people do what you did right there, and then when it doesn't work, they blame the other person. Because I was honest that I didn't want kids. Now, God changed my heart.
Right.
Now, what people do is they marry somebody. Here's a great example.
They don't believe what people say when people tell them.
They don't believe what people say. So, for example, you marry somebody who smoke weed and play video games all day, and you mad because he's not a deacon at the church.
Yeah.
He never told he told you who he was going to be. And I think that people do that all the time.
Because women, sometimes more than men, but not all the time, they be digging for gold. They see potential. They're like, oh, he got potential. Leroy looking. If I can get Leroy to do this, if I can get him to do that, and then they get church again, and church say, women, y'all come and y'all pray, and then you
get up and pray.
Your sanctified life, he'll come on to the Lord. And I ain't saying that ain't possible. I'm saying to you, you got to know who you marry before you go down that road, because then you are upset because they are exactly who they said they were when you married.
Now, we talk about my dad sometimes. My dad was a hustler. And my dad was a big influence on how I saw relationships, right? My dad used to say all the time, I didn't trick women. They just believed what they wanted to believe. And I have seen women, because of my dad, I was never like that. I literally took people at their word, especially men. But I can't tell you how many of my girlfriends over the years have out here and picked potential Paul, who ended up just being just a failure. It just was a flop. And now they feel like Paul tricked them. Paul always told you.
Potential Paul became Paul the prick.
No. I think you have to say, is this a person that I can spend my life with? When I met you, everybody knows our story. We was in college when we got married. You had a girlfriend you don't want to claim.
I had no girlfriend. You gotta stop telling that story that way.
You had a girlfriend you don't want to claim. And I definitely had a couple boyfriends because, it's just the way it works out.
You just got to tell that story your way.
What?
You tell it the way you tell it. Go ahead. Tell it your way.
I'm not going to tell all your business because all these people don't need to know it.
Okay, thank you.
But all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
All I'm just going to say one thing. Car, garage.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I got you.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So.
Go ahead.
I remember when I met you.
Jesus.
What? Now, listen, everybody
on back over. Y'all in my space?
Listen, now you don't want me in your space. No. I want y'all to.
Oh, come on, tell us.
No, hold on. I want y'all to memorialize this moment. I very seldom silence him. Did y'all see that though? Y'all see how I shut that thing down? If y'all see it, put a 7 in the comments. Baby, I shut that thing down tonight. With your little skinny self. Okay, listen. So I remember paying attention to how you treated me versus how other guys had treated me. I remember saying to my friend, because this is a very real conversation for us, that obviously one of the guys that I was with, I had more feelings for them than you because I had just met you. And I remember saying to my friend, let me tell you what I have discerned in this period of time. If I marry X and things get tight, he'll be looking at me to get a second job.
Mm-hmm.
If I marry Strict, he'll get the second job. And I thought about what I wanted my future to look like. And what I knew is I couldn't be married to a man who, when things got tough, they looked at me to fix it. So in that moment, I began to take my emotions away from him because he is not going where I want to go. Right? And I began to invest my emotions in a place that's going to give me a long-term return. I always say this. Yes, I loved you. Yes, I believe God told me to marry you, but marrying you also was an investment in my future.
Yeah, it should be.
It was an investment in my future.
Absolutely. It should be.
And I knew that I wasn't going to be married to no man who was going to ever look at me and say, what we go do? Because if I got to figure out what we go do, then I'm going to be up in here by myself.
Well, we say all the time, whether people realize it or not, what is a woman's number one need? Security. That's a woman's number one need. And if women are making decisions based outside of that need, they probably going to end up being disappointed at some point.
And resentful.
Yeah.
Your marriage should be an investment in your future, not just your present.
Yes.
An investment in your future. Is this a person I can build with? I paid attention to when I told you I had big dreams, if you shot them down. I paid attention to things like that. I paid attention to when I would date a guy and I would say, I want to be a big time lawyer. And he said, you ain't gonna never accomplish that. Notice. Yeah. Now I want to say this, that guy that I made that decision about, 15 years later, I met the lady he was dating. And she was working 2 jobs because that was exactly the kind of person he was. Ain't nobody that sexy for me. Nobody's that sexy. Ain't nobody that fine. Nobody. But I married according to my value system, right?
Yeah.
And I married somebody who respected that I had dreams. I never could have married a man who wanted me to ignore what God called me to do because it made them uncomfortable. The reality of it is that if you are intimidated by my brilliance, you shouldn't be that stupid. That's not my problem. Right. That's a you problem, right? Yeah. But I think the other thing too is that you could also say is that while I do think I am brilliant, I also think you are brilliant.
Right.
So I'm never trying to make you feel small because I believe I'm brilliant. And you're never making me feel small because you believe you're brilliant.
And so, one of the things is the question becomes, okay, when couples are married, right? How do you support your partner in all of their dreams and all the things they want to do and get accomplished, while at the same time not losing your own identity in the things you want to get done? And then what happens when you start to feel like, because people feel different ways, that they're giving that support, but they're not receiving that support? Because that's one of the things we said we want to talk about. How do you balance this? Okay, these are my goals. These are my, like, for instance, I have some very specific goals that I'm working toward, right? You have some very specific goals you're working toward. And the reality of it is both of us can get so ingrained into the things we're working on that we are just working on our thing. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you about my thing. And when you're talking to me, you're talking to me about your thing. How do couples end up supporting one another without feeling like, well, I'm supporting you, but you're not supporting me?
Oh, I think that's a good question. So I think it's a couple things. The Bible says to everything there is a season,
okay,
right? There was a season that what you needed to do needed to lead. It was just a season for it. And during that time, I had to understand, for example, when you used to work and you used to travel all the time, I had to understand that if you were only home for 2.5 days, the kind of quality time that I might want from you wasn't a reality because we had 5 kids. And those kids also wanted.
Yes.
I had to be mature enough not to take that personally. That didn't mean you didn't want to spend time with me. That meant we had another obligation. And that for us, it was like we knew that at some point the kids would grow up. So I learned to take the moments. This is something I think we got really good at. There have been seasons in our lives where we had to make 15 minutes count.
Yeah, that's true.
Where it wasn't that we were going on some date because we had kids in 3 activities. We went a long period of time where I feel like we really just kind of passed each other in the kitchen, where it was like, you drop off so-and-so, I'm picking up so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. But I always had a vision of what the next year of our life would look like, right? I also tried to get really good at when I wasn't okay saying that. Now, for us, that was a funny way. When I would be trying to tell you something and you wouldn't be listening, we use a little humor where I would say, well, I bet if I knock that computer down, you'll hear me. And that became a way that for us wasn't, I was never going to knock your computer down. But it did say to you,
pay attention.
It said to you, pay attention.
Yeah. Stop what you're doing for a moment and pay attention. Yeah. You know, I think that's good. I think understanding seasons in life is critical. I think it's critical. We've been through multiple seasons in our life. In fact, we say all the time, this is marriage 5.0.
5.0. We elevated in 2023. 5.0.
People say, what do you mean marriage 5.0? We feel like every so often in our relationship, we get some things right. And we get them right to the degree that we don't have to go back and revisit them. When that happens for us, we upgrade our relationship, right? So from marriage 1.0 to 2.0, 3.0, I think we had a 0.5 somewhere around in there.
We had 4.5
and now 5, right? And just like any software release, we work the bugs out of what was in there in the previous release, right? And so now here we are humming at 29 years, marriage 5.0. There's not a lot of seasons that will come and catch us off guard. But earlier, there were some seasons. And I think what I mean by that is we had to learn to be mature enough to know whose season it was. You know what I mean? When I was working and I was leaving the house on Monday morning and coming back on Friday, and I was doing that for years at a time, you laugh all the time. You say I've lived everywhere.
I do.
But literally, when I was leaving the house on a Monday and coming back on a Friday, I had apartments in other places because I was there so much in different cities when I was working. That wasn't the season for you to be expecting me to have a midweek dinner date. Because that wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't going to happen.
And so sometimes
it wasn't going to happen.
But now that I don't have that job anymore, it is the time for you to have an expectation of, well, Edwin can plan the date. Edwin can plan the vacation. Edwin can come and ask me if I need anything. Because you're working and doing some other things, building this business now. I have to realize, hey, look, now may not be it's not my season to have to be catered to. And I think people miss that sometimes. People miss it that sometimes it's going to be your season to be catered to. Sometimes it may be your spouse's. If you got 2 spouses who are both working and one's working a new job, you got to be gracious enough to know that's going to be a learning curve. That's going to be a learning curve for them. They got to learn a new culture. They got to learn new people, new processes. They might have to pay a lot of attention. You've been humming along at your job for 5 years. You could do it in your sleep. You got to be gracious enough to give them that leeway to say, hey, I need to see if they're okay right now, rather than going, well, they didn't ask me how my day was going. Things like that.
Well, I think the other thing too, it also wasn't my season to go and preach everywhere.
Yeah.
it wasn't my season for that, because
Even though everybody was prophesying it.
even though it wasn't in my plan to have kids, once I realized that it was the will of God for me to have kids and we wanted to have kids, I was going to raise my kids.
Right.
That was important to me. I will always thank God for Tamara and Chris
Yep.
and the Marlows and the people who helped. But ultimately, I was going to raise my kids. And because I knew my season, even when people tried to pull me into, I see the anointing on your life. Well, this anointing about to be at this house because these babies got soccer. These babies got basketball. These babies got these dumb recorder concerts. And I'm going to be up in there, right? And I think...
And their daddy is in Cleveland. And their daddy is in Atlanta. Their daddy is in Miami. Their daddy is in, Milwaukee somewhere. Why? Because he's working. So you weren't going to be, you made the decision, I'm not going to be going all across the country preaching, and then our kids have to miss all these activities, or somebody else has to take them. And a lot of times that kids get angry because they feel like parents made decisions to do whatever they were going to do and kind of just leave them out there. And that wasn't.
I just want to tell you, if you ever hear my kids say that I wasn't and stuff, tell them they a lie. I mean, I want you to look them in their face, tell them they got a lying demon. Like literally in Northwest Arkansas, people know me by my kids.
Yeah.
They don't know like the business, the work, all of that. I am Taylor Strickland mama, Chase mama, Caleb mama, Jordan mama, Canaan's mama. That because I am a mother.
Yeah.
I'm a mother, right? Yeah. And so I also want to say this because I think this is important. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in there because we're getting ready to wrap up. But I also think that one of the things that you did graciously that I don't know that most people who have been I'm gonna use it like this and see if it makes sense. You said you got to know your season, right? Mm-hmm. I want to say it like this. I want to say you got to know when you're not the star of the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the reality of it is that there were seasons when you were the star. Everything kind of worked around what you needed. You had to travel. But what I was wise enough to understand is that you were doing that for us, right? What I feel like you've been really gracious at doing is now that I'm building, you don't expect me to do all the stuff I did before I was building.
Right.
You don't sweat me about that stuff. Like, here's a great thing. Really, since 2020, I do not do the majority of the cooking.
Right.
I literally look at you and say, what are we going to eat? Can you cook me X? And you don't go, it ain't my responsibility to be cooking.
Right.
I wish I had a wife that was willing to cook. You like, babe, what you want to eat today? And I feel like you do a good job of saying, you were very gracious to me Sunday. I've been up writing a book. I do write the way that I write. I write in chunks.
Yep.
And literally, Kanan came to me and she said, Mom, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? She said, because when I ask you questions, you keep giving me an answer that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So then I told you, and you said, well, yeah, I told you I was going to the store, and you said, thank you. It didn't.
You said, I said, hey, I'm about to go to Walmart. You said, okay, thank you. And I was like, what? Where did that come from? Like, I think you need a break.
And you said, I think you need a break. And when you offered it to me, I said, I'm not going to preach with you on Sunday. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were like, absolutely. Not only did you preach, you then came home and I said, can you cook me some cabbage? Mm-hmm. And you cooked me some cabbage. And you did all of these things,
and
right?
Made your potatoes.
And you made my potatoes, mm-hmm. which was so good. But the point is, you make it easy for me to do this because I know that you're going to take Kanan to her doctor's appointment. I know that you're going to make sure that Jordan has everything that she needs. It is the reason that I have been able to do what I've been able to do in business.
So here's the thing that I say to myself all the time. You spent years creating space for me to be great. Now it's my time. It's my time to create space for you to be great. And I think if people will realize that, and if each spouse would try to do that for each other, you can keep your individuality because you got someone making space for you to be great. The problem becomes when only one person is making the space and the other person only wants to be great all the time. And I think that's the thing that couples struggle with.
Now, well, let me say this. Here's something about individuality that I can remember when we first started walking. People, men and women, would say to me, "I wish my spouse would walk with me," and I had to say, "Yo, hold on. We ain't walking together all the time.
Right.
We're not walking together. Even when you see us take a picture at the end, we typically aren't walking together unless it's your recovery day.
Yes.
We may be in the same. And
people don't realize that we may be in the same area. I'm going to try to stay half a mile. If we're walking if we leave the house together, or we drive somewhere to walk, I'm going to walk with you for a little bit. But again, I have to get my heart rate up. That means I'm going to have to run. I'm going to have to walk faster than what you're walking. That may mean that I walk a half a mile ahead of you and then walk back to where you are, and then walk another half a mile ahead of you and walk back to where you are. It may mean when we finish that you walk 5 miles and I walk 7. But we are in the same vicinity, the same area, so that if you're walking with me, I want to be able to have eyes on you. And so,
sweet.
but we don't, but you don't say to me, well, you can't walk off and leave me, because now I have to give up getting my heart rate up in order to walk beside you while you talking to somebody on the phone. That wouldn't make sense.
But you also don't say to me, you got to walk faster.
Right.
I think that's the thing that people listen.
That's it. We're doing something individual while supporting the other person.
Absolutely. And I think we don't, and I do think, to your point about the church can do this for you, right? Tell us y'all biggest takeaway so far. I think the church can do this for you, especially for women, because I think that what those women's classes do is they literally make it seem like I only breathe to be there for you. And here's the challenge with that, is that if I only breathe to be there for you, there's a lot of stuff I need you to do for me to be able to live.
And I'm glad you said that, because the other part of that is, if you only breathe to live for me, that puts so much pressure on me to be everything for you.
Absolutely.
When you take individuality out of a relationship, and now I'm trying to do everything for you to be everything for you, that puts so much pressure on you as well as me. Because listen, I like when you get in your car, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I like when you get in your car and you spend time talking to Crystal, Keyshawn, Tamra, Chris, other people. Why? Because I got stuff I want to do. I got other friends. I got people I want to talk. I got places I want to go. When I said to you, hey, I'm going to start going to bowl every Thursday, you said, okay. I said, are you okay with that? You was like, yeah. The first time I went bowling at 6:30. I don't know what you was thinking, but it was 9:30 when I got back. And you said, how long is bowling? I was like, well, it's usually about 3 or 4 hours.
Because you had to explain to me.
And so once you understood it, you was like, okay, on Thursdays, that's strict.
I'm going to do stuff.
So, but you know what else you don't do? You don't try to make me feel guilty for going bowling on Thursdays.
No, what do I say to you every time before you go bowling?
You say, go out there and get them. Make us proud, baby.
Make us proud. Don't be out there and make our name look bad. Beat their tails.
The problem is some couples, right? When couples get together, one of those couples don't have any hobbies. They don't have anything that they do. And because they don't have anything that they do, they depend on their spouse for everything. So their spouse is constantly having to be their lover.
It's like having an only child.
Their friend, their sounding board, everything. Married couples need some individuality.
You need some friends.
Some other friends.
Indeed. And unfortunately, a lot of marriages ended up unhealthy that didn't have to be.
I agree.
That didn't have to be. That we could have had very healthy relationships. And I was saying, the reason I think that this is such an important conversation right now, is that I'm in the zone.
Yes.
Like when
you're humming right now.
Yes. Is that the word you're using? Humming.
You're humming. You're going right now.
I'm in the zone. When I am creative, I am building planes and throwing them up in the sky literally before all the parts are on them.
Yeah.
That is what I do. It is how God designed me to work. And I appreciate, you said it to me, I didn't even know I had slipped into it. You said, oh, I can see it. You in the zone.
Yeah.
And when you saw me in the zone, you just was like, how do I make your life easier while you in the zone? You know, I don't know what the notes was going to be. You knew I couldn't preach on Sunday. I'm still answering questions with the wrong thing. But I also know that there's a place I'm going to come out of this. We're going to take a vacation. We're going to have a movie date. We're going to do something to reconnect.
And here, I need people to understand this. You is making money while you doing that. I am not about to sweat you while you is making money. I am not about to be interfering, talking about I ain't got no quality time with Sean. If Sean making money, that is quality time until she finishes. And so it's about understanding that timing. You know, one of the things we talk about is what are some things that people can do, right?
Okay.
In order to adjust with their spouse. One of the things that we talk about is you have to respect each other's independence, right? I have to respect the fact that there are times that you are honey. There are times that you are in the zone. You get up in the morning. You ain't spending no time cuddling. When your eyes wake up, you done said your prayers. You done thank the Lord for everything you're gonna thank Him for. You getting up and getting dressed, and you are headed next door to that office. And I can hear you in there like Kermit. You is typing away. You is working. I get it. I understand. I try to check on you, see if you want something to eat. But sometimes I'm not even trying to mess with you. I'm not even trying to bother you, right? I mean, you'll walk in there, into the room. You go to the restroom. You come back out. I'm just letting you be. Now, is that all the time? No, but I'm respecting that part of you for right now, right? What do I do in the meantime? I get me some personal hobbies that I like to do. I got some things I like to do. If I'm not involved in a project and you are, then that's the time that I use to get caught up on some of the things I want to see. That's some of the times I go back and go, you know what? I ain't heard Bill Winston in a while. The other day I was listening to Bill Winston. I was like, I ain't heard his voice in a while. Let me go listen to Bill Winston while you're over there working. And I find those things to do. And again, I give you your space. Why am I giving you your space? It's not because I'm saying, oh, Sean don't want to be with me. I'm giving your space for you to be great right now. You're working on something to be great. Now, it could be, because I know a lot of guys, I don't do it, but I know a lot of guys who love their video games, okay? There's really nothing wrong with that. As a spouse, maybe you have to give your spouse time to decompress with a video game. Now, if the video game becomes something that's the only thing they're doing and they're not doing their other things, then that becomes problematic because anything done in excess is problematic, right?
Absolutely.
But give them that space and then support each other's goals. I hope that you feel supported.
I do. Do you feel supported?
Absolutely feel supported.
I mean, it's just like, you like bowling, yes. Right? Babe, what ball you need? Tell me when you came home and you was like, listen, I need a different kind of ball. Well, listen, what kind of balls you need? Because we gonna get you what you need.
See, notice the language. We gonna get you what you need.
It's not no,
oh, why you spend all that time doing such a stupid sport? I know you don't like bowling like I like bowling. You don't like bowling like I like bowling. I get that, but you're supportive in my goal of being a better bowler, right? So you support that. We set aside time to do things together, right? But we also set aside times where we can both work on our individual goals, even if we're doing it together. Because there are times we're sitting in the same space, both working on two totally different things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But I also think too, it goes back to that 15 minutes. This is what I would encourage y'all. Don't waste the 15 minutes arguing and having a funky attitude.
Don't waste the 15 minutes arguing because you don't have 30.
Don't waste the 15 minutes arguing because you don't have 30. If all you have is 15,
make it the best.
Make
15.
it the best 15.
Use 8 of it to listen to hers, and use the other 7 to listen to his, or whatever the case may be.
Does that make sense to y'all? All right, we're getting ready to go because
we could talk about this all night.
Because we could talk about this
but
all
we
night.
ain't.
And mainly because I'm ready to write some more, just so we clear, right? But I wanted to ask you this, and I said I was going to start asking you this. Okay. You have been retired for a year now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good about not living the life I was living before, where so much of my work took me away from home.
Because you don't want to be away from me, do you?
I don't want to be away from you. That's right, babe.
Ah.
The other part is that I'm able to do so much more. And I won't even say for the church, but I'm also able to give attention to things God told me to give attention to. And that feels good. And I've seen the results of it. And it's kind of weird because it's like, okay, God tells me to pay attention to this area. I start paying attention to this area and it just starts to prosper, you know? And it's like he tells me to pay attention to this area and I pay attention to this area and it just starts to prosper. He tells me to pay attention to this area and I do, and it just starts to prosper. And it's like, okay, just like you're humming, there are some things that God is having me to do with the church that I'm humming with right now. And they're working. And so I told you, I have no qualms about being a trophy husband. I have no qualms about being a house husband.
Let me ask you this. Do you ever feel some kind of way? I was telling you that somebody called me right after you retired. And they asked me, they said, what does it mean that Edwin retired? I said, what does it mean when somebody retires? And they were like, so that means you make more money than Edwin now? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so do you ever feel
what trophy husband has a wife who doesn't make more than him? That don't even make no sense. Who want to be a trophy husband to a broke wife?
Y'all, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
So you never feel.
And I don't feel that way because we have never had his money, her money.
Facts.
We just never had.
Facts.
And so I guess if you switched it up on me, it could possibly make me feel some kind of way.
I would never switch it up.
I know you wouldn't. I'm saying if someone's thinking that, they've got to be thinking that from that modality. Like, okay.
Angela said that ain't a trophy. If she don't make no money, you ain't a trophy.
Right. But the reality of it is
I see you, Sophia.
We still handle our finances the way we handle our finances. Now, the reality of it is we never saw the need to have 3 and 4 checking accounts when you had $12. Like, why are you going to spread $12 over 3 checking accounts? We didn't need to do that. So when we didn't have any money, we put all of our money together. And then as we got more money, then you had to have money, because I didn't like that you had to feel like you had to tell me every time you bought something. There was a time in our life we needed to do that, so we didn't get insufficient funds.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case anymore. And so then you was like, here's money in your account. And then of course you had your business, and then we had more money. I was like, hey, here's money in my account, because if I want to buy you something, I want you to know. But we didn't start off that way.
We did not.
We just didn't start off that way.
We put our $12 together
in one account, right?
Right.
And said, hey, I bought a Sonic drink today.
Don't you buy one?
Don't you buy one? We're gonna split this one so we can have $11
right.
left. But the reality of it is that now we don't live that way. And so, yes, we have multiple accounts and savings and money markets and those kind of things. But at the end of the day, we still just got our money.
We still just got our
money.
It
still ain't no Edwin money. It still ain't no Sean money.
Absolutely.
And so you never made me feel like that. So I'm encouraging you to make more. In the same way you encourage me. Think about that. What did you used to say? Get out there and make that money, baby. Get that raise, baby. Go make that money. I'm saying the same thing to you.
I don't know that most women will admit this. I actually like making a lot of money.
I don't know most men would admit this. I like you making more money.
I really like making a lot of money.
And you didn't always.
I didn't always, but I like making a lot of money.
See, I like it too. So we in agreement.
I like making a lot of money.
I like you making a lot of money.
Yeah, it do.
I like you like it.
I do. I like it. All right, guys, we're getting ready to go. I want to say this publicly. Pastor Edwin is the one who should be working on the marriage retreat. I mean, the Relationships 101 retreat for September.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. I ain't 100% committed to it yet.
But you've been committed. We told these people we were gonna have something in 2024.
We said,
y'all help me.
We did. I didn't say, hold on. We gonna have something.
What?
That's what I haven't figured out.
It need to be at a beach. It need to be at a beach, not no something in
We don't have something.
in Fayetteville at the Hilton,
We don't have something.
at the beach. I want y'all to just help me.
Listen, y'all have any questions about maintaining your
Chris said
individuality?
Thursday through Sunday or Monday. All people want to talk about now is the event. We want you to get on this event. That's what we want. September, after our 30th anniversary, it's September. Who wants an event? Can we hear you if you want an event? It's 119 y'all. Can you say that you want an event? September retreat. No, Tiffany said, pull the recording, sir. You already committed.
I commit to something, cuz.
You committed to
I committed to something, cuz.
Somebody said, Kev said we go to Vegas. They want an event in September. These people went hanging out with us for a year. We told them it was going to be an event.
Praise the Lord.
Everybody pray about it.
Anybody have any questions about maintaining your individuality while still being a strong supporter of your partner?
We can be individuals at the event. Hey, we can walk different things at the event. You got men saying, you got Rod, Donald. You can maybe ignore the women, but it's men up in here saying they want it.
Absolutely. Put it together is not a problem. We can put it together, put it out there, and people can come. We certainly would have a good time.
Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
We'll do it.
All right.
We'll do something.
Mia said, hear our prayer, oh Lord. Come on now.
We'll do something.
Listen, pray, make him answer, we beat you black and blue. All right. Y'all didn't give us any questions. We hope you got something from this.
Thank y'all for hanging around. It's an hour and a half.
Thank you for hanging around. We really want us to normalize having healthy relationships. You want to have don't just have healthy relationship with your kids and your mama. Have a healthy relationship with the person God gave you to do life with.
Be happy.
And work on it.
Be happily married if you're going to be married.
Be happily married.
We want to make marriage great. We want people be talking about how they don't want to be married. They ain't going to do that no more. You just didn't find the right person and you just didn't have the right tools. Because if you got the right person and you got the right tools, marriage can be great. I'm telling you, it ain't much out there in the streets for you anyway. You want to have a committed partner, someone you can build with.
That's right. All right. We love y'all. We'll see y'all next month, February the 13th at 7 p.m. And hopefully by then we'll have some details about, a retreat.
Well, we're going to do something for sure. Amen.
All right. Love y'all.
All right. Love y'all. Have a great night. Bye-bye.